You want to replace me like some worn-out toy? Fine. Let's see how you manage without me.
The voice recorder clicked off with a soft snap that might as well have been a gunshot in my chest. 47 years old, owner of the biggest coal operation in Gray Ridge, and I'm sitting in my own kitchen at midnight listening to my wife plan my destruction. He's just dead weight, Aaron. You deserve so much better than some coal-covered caveman. That was Maddie's voice, crystal clear through the tiny speaker. My wife's best friend since college, the one who'd been filling her head with poison for months. I'd planted the recorder in Aaron's purse 3 days ago, desperate to understand why my wife of 20 years had suddenly started treating me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. I know, it's just scary, you know? Starting over at 38? Erin's voice sounded different, younger somehow, like she was trying on a new personality that didn't quite fit yet. Honey, you're gorgeous, you're smart, and you're finally making real money at the logistics firm. Plus, Jackson's been asking about you constantly. The man is smitten. Jackson Price, golden boy of Gray Ridge with his perfect teeth and his fancy suits. Works at the same company as Aaron, drives a BMW that costs more than most people make in 2 years. I'd seen him at company parties, always hovering around my wife like a vulture circling roadkill. But what about Sam? She's only 18 and she adores her father. At least Aaron was thinking about our daughter? That was something, I guess. Sam's practically an adult. She'll understand that mommy needs to be happy. And honestly, Aaron, when's the last time that husband of yours made you truly happy? When's the last time he took you somewhere nice, bought you something beautiful, made you feel like a woman instead of a maid? I gripped the recorder tighter, my knuckles white against the black plastic. Made her feel like a woman? I'd worked 16-hour days for 2 decades to build this business, to give Aaron and Sam everything they could ever want. The house, the cars, the vacations, Sam's college fund that was fat enough to send her to Harvard if she wanted. You're right. God, you're so right. I just feel guilty, you know. Guilt is just fear wearing a fancy dress, sweetie. You need to be brave. Take off that ring, stop pretending, and start living your real life. The life you deserve. The recording went quiet, except for the sound of Aaron crying. Not sad crying, or the kind of crying women do when they're about to make a decision that changes everything. I sat there in the dark kitchen, surrounded by 20 years of marriage. The coffee maker Aaron bought me for our 10th anniversary. The little ceramic rooster she'd fallen in love with at some craft fair. Pictures of Sam at every age, gap-toothed and grinning, covering the refrigerator like a timeline of better days. The next morning, Aaron's wedding ring was sitting on the bathroom counter like a discarded candy wrapper. She didn't even look at me during breakfast, just scrolled through her phone while picking at a piece of toast. Sam chattered about her senior year, college applications, weekend plans with friends, normal 18-year-old stuff. She had no idea her mother was mentally packing bags. "I'll be late tonight," Aaron announced, still not looking up. "Team meeting at the office." "On a Friday night?" I asked. "Big client presentation Monday. You know how it is." I knew how it was, all right. I also knew Jackson Price would be at that team meeting, probably with dinner reservations at some fancy place downtown. "Sure, honey. I'll grab pizza with Sam." Aaron nodded absently and headed for the garage. I watched through the window as she backed out, her phone already pressed to her ear before she hit the street. Probably calling Maddie to report that phase 1 was complete. I poured another cup of coffee and tried to figure out when exactly my life had turned into a country song. Successful businessman loses wife to slick city boy A. It was so cliché-CC it hurt. But cliché-Cs become cliché-Cs because they happen over and over again, like some cosmic joke the universe never gets tired of telling. The mine office was a 20-minute drive through downtown Gray Ridge, past the shuttered storefronts and the church with the peeling paint. This place used to be something back when coal was king and men like my grandfather could raise families on honest work. Now it was just another dying town in Appalachia, hanging on by its fingernails while people like Jackson Price swooped in to pick the bones clean. Big Joe was waiting in my office, his massive frame squeezed into one of the visitor chairs like a bear trying to fit into a dollhouse. Joe Kowalski had been my best friend since high school, back when we were both too stupid to be scared of anything. Now he owned the Lantern, the only bar in town that hadn't gone under, and he still looked like he could bench press a pickup truck. "You look like hell, Tommy," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "What's eating you?" I tossed the recorder onto my desk. "Listen to this." Joe's face got darker with every word. By the time the recording ended, his hands were clenched into fists the size of bowling balls. That backstabbing little he caught himself, shook his head. Sorry, man, I know you love her. Do I? The question surprised me. Or do I just love the idea of her? The woman I married 20 years ago? What are you gonna do? Good question. The smart thing would be to file for divorce, split everything down the middle, and try to maintain some dignity. The right thing would be to fight for my marriage. Maybe suggest counseling. Work through our problems like mature adults. But sitting there in my office, surrounded by photos of the mine my grandfather started and my father built into something real, I didn't feel smart or right. I felt angry. Bone-deep, coal-black angry. I'm gonna make them regret it, I said. Joe grinned, and it wasn't a nice expression. Now you're talking. What do you need? Trish showed up at my office Monday morning like a messenger from hell, clutching her phone and practically vibrating with excitement. Patricia Hawkins, Aaron's younger sister, had always been the dramatic one in the family. Where Aaron was cool and controlled, Trish was fire and chaos. She'd been through 2 divorces by age 35 and seemed to view other people's relationships as her personal entertainment. Tommy, you need to see this, she said, sliding into the chair across from my desk. I mean, you really, really need to see this. She turned her phone toward me and I felt my stomach drop. Text messages between Aaron and Jackson, timestamped from last night. The team meeting that had kept her out until almost midnight. I can't stop thinking about tonight. You were incredible. Same here. When can we do it again? Soon. Tom's going to Pittsburgh next week for the Coal Expo. 3 days, just you and me. I can't wait. I love you, Jackson. Love you too, beautiful. This is just the beginning. I stared at the screen until the words blurred together. 20 years of marriage, and my wife was texting another man about love. Not just Zexa, though, that was bad enough, but actual, honest-to-God love. Where did you get these? I asked. Trish's smile was sharp as a knife. Erin left her phone on the kitchen table when she was helping me move furniture yesterday. It buzzed, I glanced over, saw his name, and, well, curiosity killed the cat, right? Why are you showing me this? Because you're family, Tommy. Because I've watched my sister turn into someone I don't even recognize. And because Jackson Price is a snake who's been slithering around married women for years. That got my attention. What do you mean? He pulled the same routine with Karen Mills 2 years ago. Remember her? Married to that accountant, 2 kids? Jackson swept her off her feet, convinced her to leave her husband, then dumped her the minute the divorce was final. She moved to Cleveland, lost custody of her kids. Last I heard, she was waiting tables and living in a studio apartment. I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. Jackson Price, serial homewrecker. It made sense, actually. A guy like that, good-looking, smooth-talking, probably saw married women as the ultimate challenge. All the excitement of an affair without any of the commitment of a real relationship. So what's his game with Erin? Same as always. Make her feel special, convince her to blow up her life, then move on to the next sufferer. Except this time, he's probably eyeing your money, too. That logistics firm pays well, but not BMW and designer suits well. Jackson's got expensive tastes and a gambling problem. How do you know about the gambling? Trish's grin got wider. Because I may have gone on a few dates with him myself, back before he set his sights on my sister. The man can't resist a poker game, and he's terrible at it. Word is he owes some serious money to some serious people. I stared at the text messages again, seeing them in a whole new light. Jackson wasn't just stealing my wife, he was planning to steal my life. The house, the business, everything I'd built. And Erin was too blinded by middle-aged romance to see it coming. What do you want me to do with this? I asked. That's up to you. But if it were me, I'd make sure Jackson Price learned what happens when you mess with the wrong family. After Trish left, I sat in my office for a long time, staring out the window at the mine yards. Trucks rumbling back and forth, workers in hard hats and safety vests, the steady rhythm of honest labor. This was my world, the world my family had built over 3 generations, and some smooth-talking city boy thought he could just waltz in and take it all. My phone buzzed. Text from Erin. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. I almost laughed. She wasn't even trying to be creative with her lies anymore. Probably figured I was too stupid or too trusting to catch on. The dumb coal miner covered in soot and ignorance while she played sophisticated games with sophisticated people. Time to show her just how sophisticated I could be. I started with research. Jackson Price, 39 years old, originally from Columbus, moved to Gray Ridge 5 years ago when the logistics firm opened their regional office. Divorced, no kids, lived in one of those new townhouse developments on the north side of town. Drove a 2022 BMW 5 Series, leased, payments of $800 a month. The interesting part was his credit report. I had connections from 20 years of running a business, a people who could find information if you knew who to ask and how much to pay. Jackson Price was drowning in debt. Credit cards maxed out, personal loans, and according to my source, about $30,000 owed to a bookie named Vincent Torino, who operated out of a back room at the racetrack. A plan started forming in my mind. Not revenge. Exactly a more like justice. Jackson wanted to play games with people's lives. Fine. Let's see how he liked being a player instead of just dealing the cards. That evening, I drove past the Lantern and saw Jackson's BMW in the parking lot. Through the window, I could see him at a corner table with 3 other guys, cards spread between them, chips stacked high. Trish was right about the gambling. I parked across the street and waited. 2 hours later, Jackson stumbled out, alone, looking like a man who'd just lost his shirt. He fumbled with his keys, dropped them twice, finally managed to unlock his car. I followed him home, keeping my distance. He lived in Riverside Commons, a development of identical townhouses that looked like they'd been stamped out by a machine. All beige siding and black shutters with tiny front yards and driveways barely big enough for one car. Jackson's unit was 247, end of the row, with a clear view of the parking area from the street. Good to know. The next morning, I called in a favor from Pete Morrison, who ran the town's only private investigation service. Pete was 70 years old and looked like a retired accountant, which made him perfect for surveillance work. Nobody ever suspected the old guy with the fishing hat and the crossword puzzle. I need you to follow someone, I told him. Document everything, times, locations, who he meets with, what he does. This about your wife? Pete asked. He'd known me since I was a kid. There weren't many secrets in a town like Gray Ridge. Among other things, you want photos? Everything you can get, but be careful. This guy's smart, and he's paranoid. Pete nodded. Smart and paranoid are the easiest ones to catch. They think they're so clever they forget to watch for old men with cameras. While Pete handled surveillance, I started working on Jackson's professional life. The logistics firm where he and Aaron worked had contracts with several local businesses, including mine. As a client, I had every right to request meetings, ask questions, even file complaints if I felt the service wasn't up to standard. I scheduled a meeting with Jackson's supervisor, a woman named Carol Henderson, who'd been running the regional office since it opened. Carol was all business, the kind of person who measured success in spreadsheets and quarterly reports. Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming in. I understand you have some concerns about our service? A few things, I said, settling into the chair across from her desk. Nothing major, but I wanted to discuss them before they became problems. We talked for 20 minutes about shipping schedules and inventory management, routine business stuff. Then I steered the conversation toward personnel. I've been working mostly with Erin Mitchell. She's my wife, actually, but I've noticed some inconsistencies in the reports she's been filing. Nothing serious, but I wondered if she might be overloaded, distracted by other responsibilities. Carol frowned. Erin's one of our best people. Very focused, very professional. Oh, absolutely. I'm probably just being paranoid. It's just that she's been working such long hours lately, staying late for meetings, weekend work sessions. I worry she's burning herself out. Weekend work sessions? Carol looked confused. We don't typically schedule client meetings on weekends, and most of our team meetings are during regular business hours. I let that hang in the air for a moment, then shrugged. Like I said, probably just me being paranoid. Maybe she mentioned training sessions or working with Jackson Price on some special project? Carol's frown deepened. Mr. Price handles industrial clients, primarily manufacturing and construction. Your account is agricultural and mining, which falls under Erin's purview. There wouldn't be much reason for them to collaborate extensively. Interesting, I said, making a note on my phone. Well, like I said, I'm probably overthinking things. Erin's been a little stressed lately, talking about work constantly. I just want to make sure she's not taking on more than she can handle. By the time I left Carol's office, I could see the wheels turning in her head. She'd be paying closer attention to Erin and Jackson now, watching for signs of the unprofessional relationship that was happening right under her nose. That evening, Pete called with his first report. Your boy's got a routine, he said. Coffee at Starbucks every morning at 7:30, always orders the same thing. Gets to work by 8:15, takes lunch at 12:30, usually at that sandwich place on Main Street. Leaves work around 5:30, hits the gym 3 times a week, plays poker at the Lantern every Tuesday and Friday. What about after hours? That's where it gets interesting. Yesterday he went straight home after work, but around 8 o'clock a silver Honda Civic pulled into his driveway. Woman got out, went inside, didn't leave until almost midnight. Aaron drove a silver Honda Civic. You get pictures? Clear as day. Want me to email them, or would you rather see them in person? Email's fine. What about tonight? Same routine so far. He's at the gym right now. Been there about an hour. I'm parked across the street, waiting to see where he goes next. After Pete hung up, I sat in my kitchen, looking around at the remnants of my marriage. Erin's coffee cup from this morning, still sitting in the sink. Her reading glasses on the counter next to a stack of mail. A grocery list in her handwriting, stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet Sam had made in 2nd grade. 20 years of shared life. And she was throwing it all away for a guy who saw her as just another conquest. The worst part was, she probably thought she was being smart, sophisticated, modern, taking control of her life, following her heart, all those empowering clichés her friends had been feeding her. My phone buzzed. Text from Erin. Late meeting again. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. She actually had the nerve to end her lie with love you. Probably while she was getting ready to drive to Jackson's townhouse for another night of betraying everything we'd built together. I texted back, love you too. Be safe. Because I did love her, even now. That was the hell of it. 20 years doesn't just disappear because your wife decides to have a midlife crisis. But love doesn't mean you have to be stupid. And it doesn't mean you have to let people walk all over you. Jackson Price wanted to play games? Fine. But he was about to learn that some games have higher stakes than others. The photos Pete emailed me were crystal clear, time-stamped, and devastating. Erin's Honda in Jackson's driveway. Aaron walking to his front door with an overnight bag. Jackson greeting her with a kiss that definitely wasn't professional. But the most damaging photo was the last one of Aaron leaving the next morning, still in yesterday's clothes, hair messed up, looking around nervously before getting in her car. She looked guilty as hell, and the timestamp showed it was 7:15 a.m., which meant she'd driven straight home to shower and change before work. I printed the photos and spread them across my desk like evidence in a homicide trial. In a way, that's exactly what they were, evidence of the homicide of my marriage. Sam knocked on my office door around noon, home from school with a headache that was probably more about avoiding her chemistry test than any actual illness. Dad, can I talk to you? Always, sweetheart. What's on your mind? She flopped into the chair across from my desk, all legs and elbows like a newborn colt. At 18, Sam was turning into a beautiful young woman, but she still had moments where she looked exactly like the little girl who used to climb into my lap and demand bedtime stories. Is everything okay with you and Mom? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. I thought we were hiding it better, keeping our problems away from Sam while she finished her senior year. Why do you ask? She's been acting weird lately, staying out late, always on her phone, and she gets this guilty look whenever I ask where she's been. Plus, you guys barely talk to each other anymore. It's like you're roommates instead of married people. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Your mom's been working a lot lately. Big projects at the office. You know how it is. Sam gave me a look that said she wasn't buying it. Dad, I'm 18, not 8. I know what it looks like when parents are having problems. Half my friends' parents are divorced. I leaned back in my chair, trying to figure out how much truth an 18-year-old could handle. Sam was smart, mature for her age, but she was still my little girl. The last thing I wanted was to drag her into the middle of this mess. Your mom and I are going through a rough patch, I admitted, but we're trying to work it out. Is she having an affair? The blunt question knocked the wind out of me. Sam was watching my face carefully, reading my reaction like she was studying for a test. What makes you ask that? Because Trish asked me the same thing yesterday. She said Mom's been acting suspicious and there's some guy at work who's been paying her a lot of attention. Jackson something. Damn Trish and her big mouth. The last thing I needed was Sam getting pulled into this drama by her aunt's gossip. Your Aunt Trish likes to stir up trouble, I said carefully. She's been doing it since she was your age. So it's not true? I looked at my daughter really looked at her and saw a young woman who deserved honesty, even if the truth was ugly. She was going to college in the fall, starting her own adult life. She had a right to know what was happening to her family. I don't know for sure, I said finally, but I'm trying to find out. Sam nodded, like she'd expected that answer. What happens if it is true? I don't know that either, sweetheart. But whatever happens between your mom and me, it doesn't change how much we both love you. That will never change, no matter what. She smiled, but it was a sad, grown-up smile that made my chest ache. I know, Dad, I just wish things could go back to the way they were. Me too, baby. Me too. After Sam went back to school, I called Pete for an update. Your wife's at Jackson's place right now, he reported. Showed up about an hour ago, parked in the back this time instead of the driveway. They're learning to be more careful. Good to know. What about Jackson's other activities? Poker game last night was a disaster. Lost about $2,000 from what I could see. He was not happy when he left. Spent about 20 minutes on his phone in the parking lot, probably calling someone about money. The bookie? That'd be my guess. Vincent Torino doesn't like it when people are late with payments. An idea started forming in my mind. Dangerous, maybe illegal, definitely satisfying. Pete, I need you to do something for me. And if anyone asks, this conversation never happened. I'm listening. I want you to call Vincent Torino. Tell him you heard Jackson Price has been bragging about coming into some money soon. Big money, from a business deal that's about to go through. Make it sound like Jackson's planning to skip town without paying his debts. Pete was quiet for a long moment. Tommy, that's playing with fire. Torino's not someone you want to mess with. I'm not messing with him, I'm just sharing information. What he does with that information is his business. And if something bad happens to Jackson, then Jackson should have thought about that before he decided to destroy my family. Pete sighed. I'll make the call, but you didn't hear this from me. That evening, I decided it was time for a direct approach. Erin was working late again, at least. That's what she'd told Sam, which meant she was probably at Jackson's place. I drove to Riverside Commons and parked across the street from his townhouse. Sure enough, Erin's Honda was tucked behind the building, hidden from casual view. They were definitely getting better at covering their tracks. I sat in my truck for about an hour, listening to the radio and watching the windows. Around 9 o'clock, I saw movement in what looked like the living room. Shadows on the curtains, two figures close together. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Thomas Mitchell? The voice was gravelly, with a slight accent I couldn't place. Who's asking? Someone who's interested in Jackson Price. I understand you might have information about his financial situation. Vincent Torino. Pete worked fast. Depends on what kind of information you're looking for. The kind that helps me decide whether Mr. Price is planning to honor his commitments or whether he's the type of man who makes promises he can't keep. I looked up at Jackson's townhouse, at the shadows moving behind the curtains, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Mr. Price has been telling people he's about to come into some serious money. Something about a business opportunity, a partnership with someone who has assets worth stealing. But between you and me, I think he's all talk. The kind of guy who makes big promises to impress women, then disappears when it's time to deliver. Interesting, and you know this how? Let's just say Mr. Price has been spending a lot of time with my wife lately, filling her head with stories about the fortune they're going to build together. Problem is, my wife doesn't have access to my money, and she's about to find out that her boyfriend isn't the successful businessman he pretends to be. Torino chuckled, a sound like gravel in a cement mixer. Sounds like Mr. Price has been making promises to a lot of people. That's not very smart. No, it's not. Well, Mr. Mitchell, I appreciate the information. I think Mr. Price and I need to have a conversation about his future plans. The line went dead. I sat in my truck, staring at Jackson's townhouse, and wondered if I'd just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Then I thought about Erin's wedding ring sitting on the bathroom counter, about the text messages, about 20 years of marriage being flushed down the drain for a smooth-talking con man. Maybe some lines were meant to be crossed. My phone buzzed. Text from Erin. Going to be very late. Big crisis at work. Don't wait up. I texted back. No problem. Handle your crisis. I'll handle mine. Then I drove home to wait for the fireworks to start. The next morning brought the first crack in Jackson's perfect facade. I was having coffee at Murphy's Diner when Carol Henderson walked in, looking like a woman on a mission. She spotted me in my usual booth and came over without being invited. Mr. Mitchell, I'm glad I ran into you. We need to talk. Sure, Carol, have a seat. Coffee? She shook her head, too agitated to sit still. It's about what you mentioned yesterday regarding Erin and Jackson Price. I did some checking and there are some irregularities I need to discuss with you. What kind of irregularities? Timesheets, expense reports, client meetings that don't match our scheduling system. It appears that Aaron and Jackson have been claiming overtime and travel expenses for work that may not have actually been performed. I set down my coffee cup carefully. Are you saying they've been stealing from the company? I'm saying there are discrepancies that need to be investigated, officially. I've already contacted our corporate compliance department and they're sending an auditor next week. Will Aaron and Jackson be suspended pending the investigation? That's standard procedure, yes. They'll be notified this afternoon. I nodded, trying to look concerned rather than satisfied. I appreciate you telling me, Carol. This is obviously a difficult situation, given that Aaron's my wife. I understand, and I want you to know that whatever the investigation reveals, it won't affect our business relationship with your company. You've been a valued client for years. After Carol left, I sat in the diner for another hour, watching Gray Ridge wake up around me. The morning shift heading to work, kids walking to school, old-timers gathering for their daily coffee and gossip session. Normal life, continuing as usual, while my world fell apart and rebuilt itself into something completely different. My phone rang. Aaron, probably calling to tell me about the suspension before I heard it from someone else. Tommy? Something terrible has happened at work. She sounded genuinely upset, maybe even scared. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. What's wrong? There's been some kind of mix-up with the accounting department. They're saying Jackson and I falsified some reports, claimed expenses we weren't entitled to. It's completely ridiculous, but they're suspending us both pending an investigation. That's serious, Aaron. What kind of expenses? Overtime, travel costs, client entertainment, but it's all legitimate, I swear. We've been working so hard on the Consolidated Industries account, putting in extra hours, taking clients to dinner. Everything was approved by management. Consolidated Industries. I'd never heard of them, and I knew most of the major businesses in the region. Who's your contact at Consolidated? I asked. What? Why does that matter? Just curious. If they're such an important client, maybe I know them. Could put in a good word for you. It's complicated. The contact prefers to keep things confidential. Business sensitivity, you know? She was lying badly. Probably because Consolidated Industries didn't exist, except as a cover story for her affair with Jackson. Well, I'm sure it will all get sorted out, I said. These things usually do. I hope so. I might be home early today, if that's okay. Of course it's okay. It's your home too. At least for now, I thought, but didn't say. After lunch, I drove to the Lantern to meet with Big Joe. He was behind the bar, polishing glasses and looking like a man who'd heard interesting news. Heard your wife got suspended from work, he said without preamble. Word travels fast in this town. Good news travels fast. Bad news travels faster. This good news or bad news? I thought about it. Depends on your perspective. Joe grinned. Fair enough. You want a drink? Little early for me, but I'll take a Coke. He poured my drink and leaned against the bar. So what's the plan now? Now, I wait and see how Jackson handles pressure. Guy like that, used to having everything go his way, he's going to make mistakes when things start falling apart. Speaking of mistakes, you hear about his little problem with Vincent Torino? I tried to look surprised. What kind of problem? Word is, Torino paid him a visit last night. Very friendly conversation about payment schedules and the importance of keeping promises. Jackson looked a little shaken up when he left for work this morning. Gambling debts are a serious business. Very serious, especially when you owe 30 grand to a man who doesn't believe in payment plans. We were interrupted by the sound of screeching tires in the parking lot. Through the window, I could see Jackson's BMW parked at a crazy angle, like he'd been in a hurry to get inside. A moment later, Jackson himself burst through the door, looking like a man who'd seen a ghost. He spotted me immediately and headed straight for my table, his face flushed with anger. "You son of a witch!" he snarled. "You did this, didn't you?" I looked up at him calmly, taking a sip of my Coke. "Did what, Jackson?" "The audit, the suspension, Torino? You think I don't know what's going on?" "I think you're having a bad day and looking for someone to blame. Maybe you should sit down, have a drink, calm down a little. Don't play dumb with me, Mitchell. I know exactly what kind of man you are. Small-town thug who thinks he can intimidate people with his coal mine connections and his redneck friends." Big Joe straightened up behind the bar, all 6'4", 250 pounds of him. "You want to watch your mouth, pretty boy. This is a respectable establishment." Jackson glanced at Joe, then back at me. "You can't stop what's happening, you know. Aaron doesn't love you anymore. She hasn't for years. She's just been going through the motions, waiting for someone better to come along. That one hit home, mostly because part of me wondered if it was true. Maybe so, I said. But at least I'm not a con man who preys on married women to pay off gambling debts. Jackson's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Vincent Torino explained it to me. Seems you've been telling people you're about to come into some serious money. Something about a business partnership with a wealthy widow. Except Erin's not a widow yet, and she doesn't have access to my money. So where exactly is this fortune you've been promising? You're insane. Am I? Because from where I sit, it looks like you targeted my wife specifically because you thought she was your ticket out of debt. Problem is, you didn't do your homework. Erin doesn't have any legal claim to my business assets, and after 20 years of marriage, I know exactly how to protect what's mine. Jackson looked around the bar, realizing that our conversation had attracted an audience. Half the town was probably here for lunch, and they were all listening to every word. This isn't over, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. You're right, I agreed. It's not. But it's going to end exactly the way I want it to end. The only question is how much it's going to cost you before you figure that out. Jackson stormed out, leaving his BMW's engine running in his haste to escape. Through the window, I watched him speed away, probably heading back to his townhouse to figure out his next move. Think he'll do something stupid? Joe asked. I'm counting on it. That evening, Erin was waiting for me when I got home from the mine. She was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her work clothes, looking like she'd been crying. We need to talk, she said. Okay, what about us? About what's been happening? About Jackson? Finally. After weeks of lies and deception, she was ready to have an honest conversation. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down across from her. I'm listening. I know you know, she said quietly. About Jackson and me. I don't know how you found out, but I can see it in your eyes. You know. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Tommy. I never meant for it to happen. It just did. Things like that don't just happen, Erin. They happen because people make choices. You chose to have an affair. You chose to lie to me, to Sam, to everyone who cares about you. She started crying again, the kind of tears that come from guilt rather than sadness. I know it was wrong, but I felt so trapped, so invisible, like I was just going through the motions of living instead of actually being alive. So you decided to blow up our marriage instead of talking to me about how you felt? Would you have listened? Really listened? Or would you have just told me to be grateful for what I had, like you always do? That stung because it was probably true. I wasn't good at emotional conversations, never had been. I showed love through actions of working hard, providing for my family, being dependable. But maybe that wasn't enough anymore. What do you want, Erin? A divorce? I don't know. Maybe. Jackson thinks we could build something real together, start fresh somewhere new. Jackson's using you. You realize that, right? He's not some romantic hero who's going to sweep you off to a better life. He's a con man with gambling debts who saw you as an easy mark. That's not true, isn't it? Ask him about the $30,000 he owes to Vincent Torino. Ask him about Karen Mills, the last married woman he convinced to leave her husband. Ask him about the audit that's going to reveal he's been stealing from your company to fund his gambling habit. Erin's face went pale. How do you know about the audit? Because I know everything, Erin. I know about the fake expense reports, the non-existent clients, the lies you've been telling everyone, including yourself. Jackson's not your ticket to a better life, but he's your ticket to prison. She stared at me, and I could see the doubt creeping in. Maybe for the first time, she was starting to question whether Jackson Price was everything he claimed to be. I need some time to think, she said finally. Take all the time you need. But understand this, if you choose him over our family, there's no coming back. I won't be here waiting when it all falls apart. She nodded and headed upstairs. I sat at the kitchen table, listening to her footsteps above me, and wondered if I'd just saved my marriage or destroyed it completely. Either way, there was no turning back now. The audit results came back faster than anyone expected. Corporate compliance didn't mess around when it came to potential fraud, especially when the evidence was as clear-cut as what they found in Jackson and Erin's files. Carol Henderson called me personally to deliver the news. Thomas, I wanted you to hear this from me before it becomes public knowledge. The investigation has concluded, and the findings are significant. I was in my office at the mine, watching the morning shift change through my window. Normal people doing honest work, earning their pay through sweat and effort. The contrast wasn't lost on me. How significant? Jackson Price has been terminated immediately, and we're referring the matter to law enforcement for potential criminal charges. The falsified expense reports, fictitious client accounts, and unauthorized overtime claims total just over $47,000. And Aaron? Carol's pause told me everything I needed to know. Aaron's situation is more complicated. She was clearly involved in the scheme, but the evidence suggests she may have been manipulated by Jackson. We're offering her the option to resign rather than face termination, provided she agrees to make full restitution for her portion of the fraudulent claims. How much is her portion? Approximately $18,000. $18,000. More than most people in Gray Ridge made in 6 months, stolen to fund an affair that was supposed to lead to true love and financial freedom. What happens if she can't pay restitution? Then we pursue criminal charges against her as well. Wire fraud, theft from an interstate commerce business, as she could be looking at federal prison time. After Carol hung up, I sat in my office for a long time thinking about choices and consequences. Erin had made her bed, as the saying went. The question now was whether I was going to let her lie in it alone. My phone buzzed. Text from Pete. Jackson's at his townhouse, packing. Looks like he's getting ready to run. I texted back, keep watching, let me know if he tries to leave town. Then I called Vincent Torino directly. It was time to have a conversation about payment schedules and the importance of keeping promises. Mr. Torino? This is Thomas Mitchell. We spoke the other day about Jackson Price. Ah, Mr. Mitchell, I was hoping to hear from you. It seems your information was very accurate. Mr. Price is indeed facing some financial difficulties. So I heard. I was wondering if you might be interested in a business proposition. I'm always interested in business propositions. What did you have in mind? Jackson Price owes you $30,000. He also owes my wife's former employer $18,000 in restitution, plus whatever legal fees he's going to rack up fighting criminal charges. The man's broke, and he's about to run. This is not news to me, Mr. Mitchell. But here's what you might not know. Jackson's been promising my wife that they're going to start a new life together somewhere exotic. Costa Rica, maybe? Or the Philippines? Somewhere without extradition treaties. Torino was quiet for a moment. And you're telling me this why? Because I think Jackson's planning to disappear tonight, and I think you deserve a chance to collect what's owed to you before he does. Very thoughtful of you, Mr. Mitchell. Very civic-minded. I'm just a concerned citizen who believes in paying debts. Indeed. Well, Mr. Mitchell, I think Mr. Price and I should have one final conversation about his travel plans. The line went dead. I looked out my window at the mine yard, at the trucks and machinery and honest workers, and wondered if my grandfather would be proud of what I'd become. Probably not, but he'd never had to deal with smooth-talking con men trying to steal his life's work. Around noon, Sam called from school. Dad, something weird is happening. Mom just showed up and pulled me out of class. She says we need to talk, but she won't tell me what's wrong. Where are you now? In the parking lot. She's on the phone with someone crying. Dad, I'm scared. What's going on? Stay calm, sweetheart. I'm coming to get you. She says we might have to go away for a while, that there's been some trouble at work and people are trying to hurt her. Jackson. He'd convinced Aaron to run with him. Probably told her some story about how they could start over together if they just got out of town before the legal system caught up with them. Sam, listen to me carefully. Do not get in a car with your mother right now. Do you understand? Stay in the school parking lot, stay around other people, and wait for me. Dad, you're scaring me. I know, baby, but trust me, okay? I'll be there in 10 minutes. I made it to the high school in 8 minutes, driving faster than I should have through downtown Gray Ridge. I found Sam standing by the flagpole, looking young and scared and confused. Erin was nowhere in sight. Where's your mom? She left about 5 minutes ago. She got another phone call, started crying harder, then said she had to go take care of something. She told me to wait here, that she'd be back. Did she say who called? Someone named Jackson. She kept saying, slow down, I can't understand you, and what do you mean they're here? Vincent Torino had found Jackson. Whatever conversation they were having, it wasn't going well. Sam, I need you to go back inside the school and wait in the principal's office. Call your Aunt Trish. Tell her to come pick you up. What about Mom? I'll handle your mom. But right now, I need to know you're safe. Sam looked like she wanted to argue, but something in my voice stopped her. She nodded and headed back toward the school building. I drove to Riverside Commons as fast as I could, my mind racing through possibilities. Best case scenario, Torino was just having a friendly chat with Jackson about payment options. Worst case scenario, things had already gone too far to fix. Jackson's townhouse looked quiet from the outside, but his BMW was in the driveway, along with a black Cadillac I didn't recognize. Torino's car, probably. I parked across the street and called Pete. "Where are you?" I asked. 2 blocks away, watching through binoculars. "You need to stay back, Tommy. This isn't something you want to get mixed up in." "Is Erin there?" Silver Honda pulled up about 10 minutes ago. She went inside, came back out 5 minutes later looking like she'd seen a ghost. She's sitting in her car, now on the phone. I could see Erin's Honda parked at the curb, could see her silhouette behind the wheel. She was talking animatedly to someone, probably Jackson, probably trying to figure out what the hell was happening to their romantic escape plan. My phone rang, Erin's number. "Tommy, thank God, I need your help." "Where are you?" I'm at Jackson's place. Something's wrong. There are men here, dangerous men. They're asking about money, about debts. Jackson owes them money. How much money? $30,000. They say he's been lying to them, telling them he was going to pay them with money from some business deal. But the business deal fell through, and now they want their money. "What business deal, Erin?" She was quiet for a moment. "He told them he was going into business with you, that you were going to invest in some project he had planned. Jackson had been using my name as collateral for his gambling debts. The stupid son of a witch had told Vincent Torino that I was backing his plays, that I was good for the money if he couldn't pay. Erin, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Get in your car and drive away, right now. Don't go home, don't go to work, just drive somewhere public and stay there until I call you. I can't leave Jackson. These men are going to hurt him. Jackson got himself into this mess. He can get himself out. Please, Tommy. I know you hate him, but he doesn't deserve this. He made mistakes, but he's not a bad person." Even now, even after everything, she was still defending him, still believing his lies, still thinking he was some misunderstood romantic hero instead of a con man who dragged her into his criminal schemes. "Erin, Jackson stole almost $50,000 from your company. He's facing federal fraud charges. He owes money to dangerous people, and he's been using my name and reputation to buy himself time. He's not the man you think he is." "That's not true." "It is true, and if you don't get out of there right now, you're going to end up in the middle of something that destroys what's left of your life." Through my windshield, I could see movement in Jackson's front window. Shadows, figures moving around. Then I heard it of the sound of glass breaking, followed by shouting, "Erin? Erin, are you there?" The line was dead. Across the street, Erin's Honda was still parked at the curb, but I couldn't see her anymore. I was about to get out of my truck when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Mitchell? This is Vincent Torino. I think you and I need to have a face-to-face conversation." "About what?" "About Mr. Jackson Price and his claims regarding your business relationship. He seems to be under the impression that you're partners in some kind of venture, that you've promised to back his financial obligations. That's a lie." "I suspected as much, but I wanted to hear it from you directly. Are you willing to meet with me? Somewhere public, somewhere safe?" I looked across the street at Jackson's townhouse, at Erin's car, at the mess my life had become. Murphy's Diner downtown, 20 minutes. "I'll be there." I called Pete and told him to keep watching the townhouse, to call the police if things got violent. Then I drove to Murphy's Diner to have a conversation that would determine how this whole thing ended. Vincent Torino was exactly what I'd expected. A well-dressed man in his 50s with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from never having to raise your voice to be heard. He was sitting in a back booth when I arrived, drinking coffee and reading a newspaper like he didn't have a care in the world. "Mr. Mitchell, thank you for coming." I slid into the seat across from him. "Let's get one thing straight. I've never had any business relationship with Jackson Price. I've never promised to back his debts, and I've never authorized him to use my name as collateral for anything." Torino nodded. "That's what I thought. Mr. Price has a tendency to exaggerate his connections when he's under pressure. What happens now?" "Now, Mr. Price and I come to an understanding about his obligations. He owes me $30,000 plus interest. He's going to pay it, one way or another. And my wife? Your wife is not my concern, Mr. Mitchell. She made her own choices, just as Mr. Price made his. I thought about Erin, sitting in her car outside Jackson's townhouse, still believing in fairy tales and happy endings. Still thinking she could save a man who'd been lying to her from day one. What if I made you an offer? I said. Torino raised an eyebrow. What kind of offer? Jackson Price destroyed my marriage, stole from my wife's employer, and used my name to buy himself time with his gambling debts. I want him gone out of town, out of our lives, permanently. And I'll pay his debt, $30,000 cash today. In return, you make sure he understands that Gray Ridge is no longer a healthy place for him to live. Torino smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. That's a generous offer, Mr. Mitchell, but why would you pay another man's debts? Because it's cheaper than a divorce lawyer, and it guarantees the result I want. Jackson disappears, my wife comes home, and everyone moves on with their lives. And if your wife doesn't want to come home, if she chooses to follow Mr. Price wherever he goes. I thought about that possibility, about Erin choosing Jackson even after everything that had happened. Then at least I'll know I did everything I could to save my marriage. Torino finished his coffee and stood up. $30,000 cash within the hour. And Mr. Mitchell? This conversation never happened. Understood. As I drove to the bank to withdraw $30,000 from my business account, I thought about the choices that had brought me to this moment. A year ago, I'd been a successful businessman with a stable marriage and a daughter heading to college. Now I was paying off a bookie to make my wife's lover disappear. But sometimes that's what love looks like. Not flowers and poetry and romantic gestures, but hard choices and ugly compromises and paying whatever price is necessary to protect the people who matter most. Even when they don't deserve it. Even when they don't want to be protected. Even when they'll probably never understand what you sacrificed for them. The bank manager looked concerned when I requested $30,000 in cash, but 40 years of business relationships and a spotless credit history opened doors that might have stayed closed for other people. Within an hour, I was driving back to Riverside Commons with more money than most people saw in a year, stuffed into a gym bag on my passenger seat. Pete called as I pulled into the parking lot across from Jackson's townhouse. Situation's changed, he reported. The black Cadillac left about 20 minutes ago. Jackson came out right after, threw some bags in his BMW, and took off like his tail was on fire. What about Erin? Still sitting in her Honda, still on the phone, looks like she's crying. I could see her car from where I parked. Could see her silhouette hunched over the steering wheel. 20 years of marriage, and it had come to this, and my wife crying in a car outside her lover's empty house while I paid his gambling debts to make him disappear. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Parking lot behind Murphy's Diner. 5 minutes. Torino wanted his money. I drove to the diner and found the black Cadillac waiting behind the building, engine running. Torino was in the passenger seat, and there was another man behind the wheel, a younger, bigger, the kind of guy who solved problems with his hands instead of his words. I parked next to them and rolled down my window. Torino did the same. You have something for me, Mr. Mitchell? I held up the gym bag. $30,000 as promised. Where's Jackson? Mr. Price is no longer your concern. He's decided that a change of scenery would be beneficial for his health. Permanently? Let's just say that Mr. Price has developed a strong desire to see other parts of the country, parts that are very far from Gray Ridge. I tossed the bag through Torino's window. He unzipped it, glanced at the contents, and nodded to his driver. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Mitchell. I don't think you'll be hearing from Mr. Price again. The Cadillac pulled away, leaving me alone in the parking lot with $30,000 fewer dollars and one less problem to worry about. Jackson Price was gone, probably already on a highway heading anywhere but here, with nothing but whatever he'd managed to pack in 10 minutes and a very clear understanding that coming back would be bad for his health. Now I had to deal with Erin. I found her still sitting in her Honda outside Jackson's townhouse, staring at the empty driveway like she was waiting for him to come back. I parked behind her and walked over to tap on her window. She looked up at me with red eyes and tear-streaked cheeks, and for a moment she looked exactly like the 20-year-old girl I'd married, young and scared and completely out of her depth. "He's gone," she said when she rolled down the window. "He just left. Didn't even say goodbye." "I know. Those men came to the house and he was so scared, Tommy. I've never seen him like that. He kept saying he needed money, that he had to pay them, or something terrible would happen. Did he ask you for money? She nodded, looking ashamed. He wanted me to ask you for a loan. Said it was just temporary, that he'd pay it back as soon as he got back on his feet. And what did you tell him? I told him I'd try. I told him maybe you'd help if I explained the situation. Even after everything, the lies, the theft, the affair, Jackson had expected me to bail him out of his gambling debts. The arrogance was breathtaking. Erin, get out of the car. We need to talk. She followed me to a bench in the little park across the street from Jackson's development. It was a nice afternoon, sunny and warm, the kind of day that made you forget winter was coming. Normal people were walking their dogs, kids were playing on the playground, life was going on like always while my marriage fell apart in public. Jackson's not coming back, I said. How do you know? Because I paid his debts. $30,000 to Vincent Torino, the bookie he owes money to. In exchange, Jackson agreed to leave town permanently. Erin stared at me like I'd just told her the earth was flat. You did what? I bought him out of your life. It seemed like the most efficient solution. You had no right to do that. I had every right. He was using my name as collateral for his gambling debts, telling people I was backing his bets. He made it my business when he dragged my reputation into his schemes. But I love him. The words hung in the air between us like a challenge. After everything that had happened, after all the lies and betrayals and criminal charges, she was still clinging to the fantasy that Jackson Price was her soulmate. No, you don't, I said quietly. You love the idea of him. You loved the story he told you about who he was and what you could be together. But that story was fiction, Erin. Jackson Price is a con man who targeted you because he thought you were his ticket to easy money. That's not true. It is true. Ask yourself this, in all the time you've been together, how much has Jackson actually told you about his life, his family, his past, his real financial situation? She was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her thinking back through their relationship, looking for substance behind the smooth words and romantic gestures. He said his family was complicated, that he'd had some bad luck with investments. Bad luck with investments? Is that what he called a $30,000 gambling debt? You don't understand. He was trying to win money to start a business with me. Everything he did was for us, for our future together. I almost laughed. Even now, even with Jackson gone and the evidence of his crimes piling up around her, Erin was still rewriting history to make him the hero of their story. Erin, Jackson stole almost $50,000 from your company. He's facing federal fraud charges. The audit found fake expense reports, fictitious client accounts, unauthorized overtime claims, and you helped him do it. That got through to her. Her face went pale, and she looked like she was going to be sick. I didn't know. He said the expenses were legitimate, that everything was approved. Did you ever see the approvals? Did you ever verify the client accounts? She shook her head, and I could see the moment when the full scope of her situation hit her. She wasn't just a woman who'd had an affair, she was an accomplice to corporate fraud. What's going to happen to me? That depends. Carol Henderson is willing to let you resign instead of firing you, provided you pay back your share of the stolen money, $18,000. I don't have $18,000. I do. She looked at me with something that might have been hope. You'd do that? After everything I've done? I'd do it for Sam. She doesn't deserve to have her mother in federal prison during her senior year of high school. And what would you want in return? It was a fair question. What did I want? My old life back? The marriage we'd had before Jackson Price showed up with his smooth words and expensive suits? That was impossible. Too much had happened. Too many lines had been crossed. I want honesty, I said finally. Complete honesty about everything. The affair, the money, what you were planning to do with Jackson, what you really want from your life. And if I'm honest, if I tell you everything, then we figure out what comes next. Maybe we try to rebuild our marriage. Maybe we get divorced but stay friends for Sam's sake. Maybe something else entirely. But whatever we do it based on truth instead of lies. Erin was crying again, but these were different tears. Not the desperate tears of a woman watching her fantasy collapse, but the exhausted tears of someone who'd been carrying too many secrets for too long. I was so unhappy, Tommy. Not with you exactly, but with my life. I felt like I was disappearing, like I was just going through the motions of being alive. And Jackson made me feel special, important, like I mattered. You do matter. You've always mattered. But not in the way Jackson made me feel. With him, I felt like a woman instead of just a wife and mother. I felt desired, exciting, worth pursuing. I thought about that, about the difference between being loved and being desired, between being appreciated and being pursued. Maybe that was where I'd gone wrong. I'd gotten so focused on providing for my family that I'd forgotten to court my wife. "I'm sorry," I said. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible. I'm sorry I took you for granted. I'm sorry too. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I cheated. I'm sorry I almost threw away 20 years of marriage for a man who turned out to be a criminal." We sat on that bench for another hour, talking more honestly than we had in years, about our marriage, our mistakes, our daughter, our future. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation, too much damage had been done for that. But it was a start. "What happens now?" Aaron asked as we walked back to our cars. "Now you come home. We figure out how to pay back the $18,000. We explain to Sam what's been happening, age appropriately, and we start over one day at a time. And Jackson? Jackson's gone. He's not coming back. And even if he tried, there's nothing left for him here. His job's gone, his reputation's destroyed, and Vincent Torino has made it very clear that Gray Ridge is not a healthy place for him to live." Aaron nodded, accepting what couldn't be changed. "I need to get some things from his house. Personal items I left there. The house is empty. He's gone, Aaron. Really gone." She looked at Jackson's townhouse one last time, and I could see her saying goodbye to the fantasy life she'd imagined. Then she got in her Honda and followed me home. Sam was waiting in the kitchen when we walked in together, her face a mixture of relief and confusion. "Are you guys okay?" Aunt Trish said something happened at Mom's work. "We're okay, sweetheart," I said. "Your mom and I have some things to work out, but we're okay. Are you getting divorced?" Aaron and I looked at each other, and I realized we hadn't actually answered that question yet. "We don't know," Aaron said honestly. "We're going to try to fix things, but it's complicated." "Because of Jackson?" Smart kid. Too smart for her own good. "Among other things, yes." Sam nodded like she'd expected that answer. "I never liked him anyway. He had creepy eyes." That evening, after Sam had gone to her room to do homework, Aaron and I sat at the kitchen table with a pot of coffee and 20 years of history between us. "Do you think we can make this work?" she asked. "I don't know, but I think we owe it to ourselves and to Sam to try. It won't be easy. There's going to be a lot of trust to rebuild." "Trust is earned," I said. "We'll both have to earn it." She reached across the table and took my hand, and for the first time in months, it didn't feel like a lie. "I love you, Tommy. I know I have a funny way of showing it, but I do love you." "I love you too." That was never the question. Then what was the question? I thought about it, about everything that had happened, about Jackson Price and Vincent Torino and $30,000 in a gym bag. The question was whether love was enough, whether we could build something real together or whether we were just going through the motions. And what's the answer? I guess we'll find out. 6 months later, Jackson Price was arrested in Phoenix on federal fraud charges related to an investment scam targeting elderly retirees. The news made the Gray Ridge Gazette's front page, along with a reminder that he'd previously worked at a local logistics firm before relocating for personal reasons. Erin paid back her share of the stolen money using funds from her retirement account. She found a new job at a smaller company, making less money but working for people who valued honesty over clever accounting tricks. We started marriage counseling, which was about as fun as it sounds, but more useful than I had expected. Dr. Sarah Chen helped us understand how we'd grown apart, how we'd stopped seeing each other as people instead of just roles to fill. Sam graduated valedictorian of her high school class and got a full scholarship to the University of Virginia. At her graduation party, she pulled me aside. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said. "For what?" "For fighting for Mom, for fighting for our family. A lot of dads would have just given up. Your mom was worth fighting for. Even after what she did. Especially after what she did. People make mistakes, sweetheart. The measure of a person isn't whether they make mistakes, it's what they do afterward." Today, Aaron and I are still married, still working on rebuilding what we almost lost. It's not the same marriage we had before. It's better in some ways, harder in others. We talk more now, fight more honestly, appreciate each other more consciously. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I think about Jackson Price. I wonder if he ever thinks about the life he tried to steal, the family he almost destroyed, The price he paid for 30 pieces of silver and a gambling addiction he couldn't control. Then I roll over and look at my wife sleeping beside me, and I remember that some victories are worth whatever they cost. Even if the cost is $30,000, and the knowledge that sometimes the only way to save something is to be willing to destroy everything that threatens it.